I am sitting today with a man named Josh. Hello, Josh.
Hello.
Now, in the background, when you watch the video later, if you want to do such a thing, you will see some things that you're thinking, "Oh, well, that's interesting. There's a camera and there's a studio light and what looks like Lego to the side." So, just give people who are not watching the video at this time, what is it that people are actually seeing? What is it you're doing?
So behind me, you can see some of the Lego sets and models that I use to make Lego animations of Bible stories. So I'm a stop motion animator working with a charity called Go Chatter Studios that is making the Bible in Lego stop motion.
Awesome. So stop motion, just outline what that is, because I think I know what it is. I probably don't. I think Wallace and Gromit because it's lots of static pictures. Is that
Yeah,
on the same sort of lines?
exactly right, exactly right. So Wallace and Gromit is also stop motion, and while we're using Lego, they're using clay and plasticine. It's the same technique. The basic idea is that you'll have your set, you'll have your minifigure or your plasticine character in Wallace and Gromit's case, and you'll have your camera. You take a photo, then you move your figure by a tiny amount, and then take another photo, move your figure by another tiny amount, and then you repeat that process again and again and then again and again, and put all those photos together, and that makes a stop motion. So it's a slow process, but it enables you to bring static physical characters to life in animation.
Now, the bit of geeky bit that I do know is frames per second in the video.
Mm.
It used to be 24, it's been 13. At 30, we've got 60 frames per second. And all that means is the number of photographs, effectively, in any given second, which when you stick them together, it's like the old school book. You can take a piece of paper, 20 sheets of paper, and you can actually create your own stop animation book, which a lot of people may well have done at school in the history class if they're a little bit bored. But essentially, it's the same, well, not the boring bit, but essentially what you're doing is the same sort of idea, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly that. And we animate at 12 frames per second because stop motion animation takes a long time, and basically it takes an exponential amount of time more the higher the frame rate that you use. And so for me, 12 is that kind of balance between not a ridiculous amount of work, keeping it smooth, but then also keeping a bit of that stop motion in there. Because if we were animating at 24 frames per second, it would almost look too smooth and wouldn't look like stop motion. And I like to keep that natural, very, very real stop motion feel in there. So yeah, we animate at 12 frames per second.
I've not done this before, and then too. So if we're talking about 12 frames a second, and we're talking about 60 seconds, that's 12 frames times 60. That means for every 1 minute of video, you've had 720 frames. That's 720 movements, which is probably taking you more than a minute, I would guess, per time.
Just a little bit, just a little bit. So on average, it takes 1 hour to make 1 second of footage for animations, and that's on average. So basically the more characters that you have in a scene, the longer it takes. So there's been scenes that I've done where it's been, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 characters in the same scene, and for every photo you're taking, you're having to move every single one of those characters for every single photo, and so those scenes take a lot longer. So for example, there was one clip I did that had, it was from the story of Pentecost, which you can find on our website, and it had 9 characters even sitting round the table, and then the flames were appearing at the back of their heads for that Pentecost scene, and that it was a 5 second clip, and it took me 8 hours to animate just the 5 seconds. That's 8 hours straight, and that doesn't include all the setup time and the building of the set. It was just 8 solid hours of animating. So yeah, on average, it's an hour. Obviously, a lot quicker, but some like that are a lot longer. But yes, it does take a minute or two.
I'd say the most obvious question: are you like the most chilled out, relaxed person in the world? Because you'd have to be. Because if you just spent 8 hours and then the last thing you think, oh, I forgot to move that character 4 hours ago, you've got to be pretty chilled.
I think the bigger thing is just being able to be hyper focused in the moment. I work in, I guess, bursts of energy, and when I'm excited about a project, when I'm in the middle of a project, I have a burst of energy that essentially keeps me going for that whole project. So with an animation like that, for example, that 8 hour animation, I'd been setting up that scene the whole morning. I started the animation at about 1 o'clock, and I was animating till nine o'clock in the evening. And it's just a burst. I'm hyper focused for the whole time. It's just one burst of energy, and then I go straight to bed. And that's just how I work. I work in these like bursts of energy. But yeah, it does require a lot of patience, and I think overall, yeah, I probably am a quite a chill guy. So yeah.
You see, I couldn't do that because I was too frustrated wanting to get to the end. Well, people can just make the middle of here we are, the guy's on top of the tower, he's not climbed it, you just make it up in your heads. That
Yeah.
would probably be my version, which is probably why I'm not doing what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think that's the great thing about Lego animation though is that it is so easy to start. So you could still make a Lego animation. It wouldn't be as high a frame rate as we do, but you could still make a Lego animation. And that's one of the reasons why I love using the technique of the technique of stop motion. People often ask me, "Oh, why do you do stop motion when it takes so long? When it takes 8 hours to film 5 seconds?" But what you said there, that's exactly why. Is because it inspires other people to create their own animations, to create their own stop motions, because they see the stop motions that we make online, and children go away from watching our Bible stories and they're like, "Oh, I want to create a Bible story of my own," and they get out their Lego bricks, they start creating their own animations because it's so easy to start and to get to the level that we're at. It's just practice and time.
And determination and commitment and possibly calling, which I want to come back to. I want to come more detailed, look a bit with your life as well. But just before we change tack a bit, what is it you're hoping that people are going to get from coming to your website and watching the video? What's your desire and your passion? What's the heart behind why it is you're spending hours making a 5 second clip?
I want to bring people to Jesus. Jesus, he's changed my life, and I want to share that, spread that in every way I can. And God's given me the skills to build Lego models, to make animations, and so I'm using those skills that He's given me to share the love I have for Him. So that's the primary reason why I do everything I do. I think then a secondary reason is to inspire people, as I mentioned, is I want to be inspiring people to be using their skills, to be creating, be creative, and be making their own amazing animations, making their own Lego models, but also just using the skills that God has given them in the spheres that they're in and the circles that they're in. So yeah, that's my primary and secondary reason to point people to Jesus and then to inspire people.
Fab. Okay, well let's look a bit more at that. That seems to be a natural segue. What's your life and faith growing up? As Christian home, non-Christian home? Where how did God enter your life? And at what point did you then think, you know what, Jesus is more than just this thing, this entity, this nice idea. Actually, Jesus is now much more personal to me. How did you grow up?
Yeah, so I did grow up in a Christian home. I've been taught the Bible, taught Bible stories my whole life. But I've also been taught that doesn't make me a Christian. My parents were very clear that yeah, we're Christians, but just because we teach you Bible stories, just because we're Christians, that doesn't make you a Christian. And I think it was when I was about 12 that I first said to my parents, "Oh, I want to be a Christian from my own understanding of the Bible and from the things I've learned. I want to be a Christian," and that was when I first made that commitment. But I then never really acted on it. I said that to my parents, but I didn't get baptized straight away, and I kept on putting it off. And I never really felt good enough. I never felt good enough to get baptized. I thought, oh well, once I've fixed this area of my life, then I'll get baptized. And then it was okay. Now once I fix this area of my life, then I'll get baptized. Then I'll be good enough. But that's not the gospel. That's not how Jesus works. That's not how Christianity works, because we can never, ever, ever be good enough. And so I was just putting it off, even though I could never be good enough. And then it was back in 2022. Now 2022 was the start of basically everything for me. It was the biggest year of my life in many, many ways. And it was 2022 that the Lego project started, but it was also in 2022 that I almost lost my life to cerebral malaria. I was living in South Africa at the time, and I almost lost my life to cerebral malaria. And that was a wake up call for me. I came out of the 3 weeks of intensive care and lying on a hospital bed, on the edge of death, and realized I can't keep on putting this off. I can't keep on putting off fully committing and getting baptized, because I never know when God could say, okay, your time's up. It almost was for me. And so when I came out of that, I very quickly was like, okay, I'm getting baptized. I'm fully committing, because I don't want to put this off any longer, and I want to make the most of every opportunity that God gives me in my life. And one of the opportunities that he gave me was, it started at the end of 2021, so just before this year, and then carried on throughout 2022. Now, to go back a little bit, I've been a Lego maniac my whole life. I've been building Lego models ever since I was 5. But it was back in lockdown that I first started making some very basic Bible animations. And at the end of 2021, a Christian organization in the UK, now, as I said, I'd been living in South Africa at the time, a Christian organization in the UK found some of the basic Bible animations that I'd been making and posting online. And they reached out to me. And over the course of 2022, I started making some freelance animations with them. I started working with them freelance, and we made the Easter story and the Christmas story, which were the first 2 animations of this project. So that's why I say 2022 was a massive year for me, because this project started. You can watch our Easter story and our Christmas story on our website. Those are the first 2 animations that were made back in 2022. And I was also finishing school at the time. So I was 17, finishing school. And once I finished school, I was like, well, I didn't want to go to university straight away. And so I mentioned this to the Christian organization in the UK, and they said, well, why don't you come out and work for us for a year and carry on making Lego animations? And they were a ministry that made a whole range of Christian content for churches, for schools, here, mainly here in the UK. And they were selling them to the schools and churches, and so the Lego stuff was something I hadn't done before, but it was doing really well. People were really loving it, and so I moved back to the UK and started working for them. I was working for them for just over a year or so, until the beginning of this year. Last year, until the beginning of last year, 2024, when we realized that the Lego project that we'd started, it had a lot of potential for growth. We were seeing so many people get really, really excited about it, get affected by it, and it had a lot of potential for growth. But the business structure that I was under at the time wasn't the right structure for it to continue forward. And so spent a lot of last year setting up a charity to move specifically the Lego project into, and that was approved at the end of October last year, and that is what is now Go Chatter Studios. So Go Chatter Studios is the charity that we set up last year, and this charity has now been going for about 2 or 3 months now. And as I said, the goal is to be making the whole Bible in Lego stop motion under this charity. So there you go. That's the backstory.
And that's quite a story. 3 weeks being near death, yes, that would be an awakening call, I think, for everybody. But I just want to go back a little bit on something you said, that Jesus, the relationship with Jesus, with God, it doesn't work based on what we do. It's not like when we feel like we're ready, okay, now I'll become a Christian because now I'm good enough. But I just wanted to draw that out a bit from your own thoughts, having been what you've been through. But what does it mean by that we can never be good enough? Because surely we can work hard and do good stuff, and that's a good thing. But what do you mean by that?
Mm-hmm. So it's something that, from a human perspective, we look around at the world and think, oh, I'm a really good person. I'm looking at all this sin in the world, or everything terrible that's going on, and actually I'm quite a good person. But God defines good as his level of perfection, and he is so much more perfect than us, that even our goodness doesn't come anywhere close to his perfection. And so when we're comparing ourselves to to other people around us. I sometimes use analogy of Lego plates. So we're comparing ourselves, and we're standing on one plate, one Lego plate above other people, and thinking, oh, I'm a plate higher than them. I'm so good. God is up at the moon. He's up at the moon. It's just a ridiculous comparison, because God is so much more perfect than us. And that's why I say that we can never be good enough, because we're never going to be able to stack ourselves high enough with our goodness to reach God's level of perfection. But that's why Jesus came, because we can never reach that. But that's why Jesus came. He came to die for us, so that our sins could be forgiven and we could have a relationship with God.
Which is a beautiful way of putting it. So you've created this charity now. You've kind of, I guess, the business side of it, you tested and thought, well, there's something in this. People are actually interested. It's one of the things of business you test. Is there a market for this? Well, yes, there is. And then you move to this charity, which is really exciting. That you've gone from let's make money out of this to what can we do with this for other people, which is the whole point of any charity, really. How have you found people viewing you moving from business, making money, sensible, logical, to, do you know what, we're going to go to a charity, much more risk, less business focused? How have people responded to that?
The response has honestly been incredible. We were praying every single day for about the 6 months of the charity setup process, and God has answered those prayers above and beyond our wildest expectations. So, for a bit of context, before we set up the charity, the animations that we'd posted to YouTube and to our website, they got maybe, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, 50,000 views on YouTube. Which we were very pleased with, but that was over the course of about 2 years or so. That many of them had been up for about 2 years, and they'd got about 50,000 views at most. And then we set up the charity at the end of last year, and started reposting our animations to the charity, to the charity's YouTube channel. And since reposting them, our videos have been getting 100, 200,000 views per video, and it's been absolutely insane seeing the amount of people that have gotten so excited about the project, now that it's a charity, now that it's a specific project, now that we're clearly making it all for free. And it's been so encouraging, because honestly, yeah, you're right. I think particularly for us, it felt like this is such a crazy thing to be doing. We're going out of a safe business structure and moving to a charity where we're relying entirely on people donating towards the project. Like we're distributing our videos completely for free, so we're relying entirely on people donating towards the project. And that's a bit of a risky business strategy, especially when we don't know what the reception is going to be like, and especially since the videos, they've been doing okay before, but the amount of views that they had been getting was nowhere near enough to be gaining the amount of traction to then fund the project. But God knew what he was doing, and he knew that this was the right way forward, because yeah, as I said, he has been so blessing us over the past 3 months or so that we have now been a charity, and the YouTube's been blowing up. But alongside that, the donations have really been pouring in, and we've fully funded our next animation to be releasing, which is Creation, which is, I don't know when this podcast is going out, but it's releasing a week from now when we're recording this. And then we're 70 to 80% of the way through funding our next animation, The Prodigal Son.
God finds a way.
He does indeed.
Absolutely believe that God is completely logical, but I think sometimes we look at the logic of God and think, well, that's illogical, but that's because we're not God, right? So
it's logical to us.
Exactly. But 1 + 1 = 2, but in God's economy, 1 + 1 can be whatever God chooses, to be honest.
Exactly.
And I still believe it's logical. So we've looked a little bit at your life and your faith. We're looking a bit about what's going on with you with the Lego. But I suppose the question I have is, what was the initial thing that made you want to start doing this? I know lockdown, there was lots of boredom everywhere, and people were like, what can I do with what I have? And all of a sudden, these amazing projects are coming out of basically lockdown boredom, not allowed to leave our home, all that stuff. But what made you think, oh, I could get a camera and a Lego, and if I take some photos, I can do something? What was the kind of what was the initial light bulb for that?
My mum's to thank for that. So she was getting involved in our online Sunday school as a church back in South Africa, and she was doing some recorded video lessons for Sunday school. And as I said, I've been Lego mad my whole life. I'd been building Lego models ever since I was a kid, and so Lego had always been my thing. And so when she started doing these online Sunday school lessons, she was like, "Oh, maybe you could make some Bible scenes to help go alongside these Sunday school lessons." And now I've always been I know, a bit of a perfectionist. I always want to go above and beyond in everything I do. And so when she said make some Bible scenes, I was like, okay, let's make a whole animation. And that's pretty much how it started, was because I didn't want just images flashing up. It was like the characters have got to move, and it's got to be a whole animation. And so that's what I did. And so yeah, I got my Lego bricks, got my camera, and started making these very basic Bible animations. They're basically hidden on YouTube now. If you dig, you may be able to find them, but they're not great. Certainly compared to the level of the stuff we're making now. But it was the start of the project, and while I didn't really realize it at the time, and this is again just an example of God working, but now looking back, I can see just how perfect using Lego to make Bible stories was, and how much of an amazing idea that was that God planted in my mum's mind back then, and then in mine. And because the thing with Lego is that it really grabs people's attention. It draws them in, and they already have an emotional connection with it, whether they're playing with Lego themselves, whether they've got sets on their shelves, or whether their kids are playing with it, whatever it is. People already have an emotional connection with Lego, and they're already engaged. So you're starting with people that are already engaged, already have an emotional connection, and then you're telling a Bible story to them using that medium when they're already engaged and already have an emotional connection. And so it's such a great way of telling Bible stories and drawing them into the gospel, drawing them into the stories of Jesus. And I didn't realize that at the time, but God did, and he was working. He knew what he was doing.
So your mum was basically the catalyst of why don't you think about doing that, and it kind of exploded. I would say though, the stuff that you made that you said wasn't great is great. I'll tell you why, because it was your initial gift to God, and He's just taken that and used it. So don't say it's not great, because that's not true. It may not be to the same quality. We did some videos back in what's called COVID era, and we made like 1,000 videos free online. The quality isn't that great. It never was. But you know what? I still am really proud of it because it's where we began. And we'll have to start somewhere, which comes back to what you said right at the beginning when you said none of us can be good enough for God. Actually, we're good enough because of God, not because of what we do. In the same way that your contribution, the initial stuff, that changed people's lives. And it's changed people's lives. So don't say it's not great, because it is. Because we offer our gift to God, right? Because He's made us. And what He can do with what we have is phenomenal. And He's taken that initial, not high quality stuff, but now look at what you're doing. And what else are you doing then as a project? You're talking about you got creation coming, you got these other projects on the go. What else have you got planned? Where do you want this? Have you got a vision for the future for what you want this to be able to do for people?
Yeah. So as I briefly mentioned before, our goal is to make the whole Bible in Lego stop motion. And now when I say the whole Bible, I don't know if you've ever come across the Jesus Storybook Bible. Is that something that you're familiar with?
I feel like I should do.
Maybe it's a really good children's storybook Bible that I grew up on, absolutely love. Anyway, when I say the whole Bible, I'm picturing a children's picture book, storybook Bible. So obviously we're not going to be making animation of the book of Leviticus, but we are going to be telling the whole story of the Bible in Lego animation, always pointed to Jesus. That is the goal of this project. And having gone through the Bible, flipped through every story in there, noted down all the stories that could be turned into animations, it's come out at about 70 to 80 animations that we're looking at over the course of this project. So we have 9 that we've animated so far and are available on our website. We've got another 2 that have been created and are waiting for release. So as I said, as of recording this, the story of creation is releasing in a week. So that's Genesis chapters 1 to 3. And then in a month or maybe two, depending on our release schedule, we've got the Prodigal Son coming out. At the moment, working on animating the Book of Ruth, and then we have a production schedule lined up after that. So after the Book of Ruth, it's going to be a 3-part series of Exodus, and then Jesus walking on water, and so on. And we're kind of picking and choosing seemingly random stories from the Bible, but that's because we always want a range of stories. So we don't want to start in Genesis and go through chronologically, because then we're going to have no stories from Jesus, and we don't want to start with the Gospels, because then we're going to have no stories from Genesis. So we're kind of picking and choosing, so that we always have a good range whenever people check our website. And we've started with the Easter and Christmas, so those are, I guess, the kind of they are the most important stories. So we've got those, and now we're just kind of filling in those 70 animations. So that's the primary project. That's the primary goal of what we're doing. But then we also want to be making other resources alongside this. So we've started making some children's books with publishing companies. We've also started making Christmas and Easter trails where people can follow the story of Christmas, follow the story of Easter on cards, and it plays a little video on each of the cards. And so making accompanying resources like this. And the goal of all of this is twofold. So firstly, we're looking at resourcing churches, helping churches and Christian organizations to reach out to their communities, to reach out to their congregation, children and families in their church, helping them to explain the Bible, to engage them with the Bible. And then the second aspect of what we're doing is looking at engaging a non-Christian audience online. So using our animations as an evangelistic tool online, because as I mentioned earlier, that's the great thing about Lego, is it draws people in. People aren't thinking, oh no, Bible story. They're thinking, oh cool, Lego story, and they're going to watch it. And that's something that we've very much seen on our social medias, as we have Muslims, atheists, agnostics commenting, saying, hey, I love this story, really enjoyed this animation. I'm an agnostic, I'm an atheist, but I still really enjoyed it. And so yeah, that's the second aspect of what we're doing, is using these animations as an evangelistic tool online.
Some things do definitely lend themselves. Heavy metal is one of those interesting genres of music which far more easily reaches across the same kind of things you're saying. You'll get the big band Striper from the 80s, still big band. They are really excellent at what they do, but you've got people who love Jesus Christ and those who don't, who all say, don't care, the music's good. And they'll be singing along, and it's very much Christ-centered. But, it's one of those genres where I think it's much easier to get across to people who perhaps don't believe in the same things you do. Other musical genres perhaps not quite the same thing. Heavy metal does, and I think in a similar kind of context, Lego is one of those things. Like you said, there's an emotional context. You can't see it. There's Lego all around me behind my camera, because we love Lego as a family. Every year we buy something Lego, even if we got no money. As a little Lego man, it's something, because it's creative, and the stuff my lads have created over the years is phenomenal. Me, I just like to follow the book. I've made what's in the book. I'm happy. Maybe I'll stick an extra light on and I'm good. But it's the creativity. And I think it's that sort of drawing back to our childhood, whether we're older or not, whether we've got children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, whether we are a child, but it brings us back to I suppose, a place of safety, a place of possibility. Because with a Lego, you get 100 Lego bricks. What are you going to make? Well, 100 people will make 100 different things, right? So there's this wonderful cacophony of creation through Lego, which is brilliant, which is what you're doing. Are you actively encouraging people to make their own stuff as well, or is it just a natural, wonderful by sort of extension?
It's a natural, wonderful extension of our animations. So I've run Lego workshops with churches and schools in the past, and simply all I do is show them one of our animations, give them a pile of bricks, and tell them to go for it. That's literally all they need. Is they just need inspiration, and then their own bricks, and that's the magic of Lego, is people get so creative with it, and that's what it's for, is to inspire those creative juices and get people creating. And so yeah, the animations are just when it comes to that aspect, I see them as an inspiration for people to start making their own things, because that's what always inspired me as a kid, was seeing these amazing creations online that people that I couldn't, at the time I thought, oh, I'd never be able to get to that level, but it inspired me to create my own stuff all the same, and that was the start of my journey.
I think I'll be felling in my duties to our video watching people later on. Have you got any Lego that we can see? And we'll try and describe it for the radio show.
Yeah. So let me grab this set piece here. So here we go. This is, you can barely see me now. This is one of our set pieces for pretty much all of the animations that we make. And at the start of this project, I made a massive set. So this is one of 8 modules. So this is an eighth of the size of the full model. But for those of you listening on the radio, basically it's a square filled with houses, first century Israelite houses, and you've got some pathways and some market stands and a little coastline at the edge. And I built this at the start of this project, and the whole set at the start of this project, because I knew that pretty much every animation I was going to be making would have some kind of town scene. It would have some kind of landscape, which is the kind of other half of this full set. And so I built this as something that I could be reusing and reusing for pretty much every single scene of the animation. So these houses that are on this set have been reused, repurposed for every single town scene in pretty much all of our animations. So if you look carefully through certainly our later animations, you'll start spotting the same houses, but it always looks like the scenes overall always look completely different, because I've changed up the lighting, I've changed up the angle, I've changed up the details, and it looks completely different. So, for example, these same houses were used for Nineveh in the story of Jonah, and they were also used for Jerusalem in the story of Pentecost. Both those town scenes look completely different, but it's the same houses. And so this set has been something that's been really, really useful for me, because it's meant that I don't have to build a completely new Lego set for every single animation. Most of the time I'm just reusing this.
And for people who are listening to the radio show, go off and watch the YouTube when it comes out later, because what I love about that is you've got little trees as well. I don't know why,
Yeah.
but I love Lego shrubbery, shall we say.
Yeah.
One of my wife's birthdays, she bought her a Lego rose, which she can build and put in a jar.
Mm.
For some reason, Lego plants, there's an interesting irony of that. I just like Lego plant life. Just feels to me like that's so cool, which is what we've
Yeah.
got.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's some of the trees that I've built for our upcoming animation, the story of creation. So you've got a few different sizes here. And yeah, I don't have the actual tree of life in reach, but the tree of knowledge and good and evil. If you can see that, I'm pointing to it right there. But that's over there is the creation, the full Garden of Eden set that I made. So.
Cool. If ever there was a reason for you to go listen to this and go and watch it again later, today is the day.
Indeed.
Thank you, Josh, for this. This is a delight. I love Lego. I love the creativity of Lego. We have lots of Lego in our home. When my lad came out of surgery last year, we bought him a big Lego car. He loved it. It was like 3 to 5 days of really intensive building. And it's one of those things that can bring joy. If we step on it, we know it hurts. But apart from that, it's just great fun. How can people access what you've got? I mean, you were talking about YouTube videos, other resources. Where do people come to get hold of all this stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best way is either our YouTube channel or our website. So Go Chatter Studios on YouTube, or gochatterstudios.org is our website. So you can subscribe on YouTube. We'll be posting all our videos there, and then you can also go to our website. Our animations are generally released slightly earlier on our website as to our YouTube, because we have a stricter upload schedule for YouTube. So on our website, you'll be able to find all 9 of our animations. On our YouTube channel, you'll be able to find 7 of them so far. And then we're also on Instagram and TikTok as well, if you want to be seeing more behind the scenes of the project. And again, Go Chatter Studios. So just search up Go Chatter Studios, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and our website.
Josh, thank you. It's been a delight to meet you. We met you at a Hand in Hand conference a little while ago. I love Lego, always have done. So it was a real thrill for me to see I mean, it was like 8 block, I think you had on the table there, which was
Yeah,
amazing. Um, Thank you for what you're doing. Keep going. And the early stuff is good because it led to even better stuff. So don't put
very
yourself
true.
down. Right,
Thank you so
Josh,
much.
go check our studios. Thank you very much.
Thank you. God bless.